I
uh,
I met a technical issue with
so,
WebEx.
all right. So, can we just proceed?
Yes.
Boleh kita sambung saja.
Yeah. I
All
can
right.
start now actually.
Sorry.
Yeah, I can start now actually.
Okay. So, we are here with the students of Polytechnic Kuching Sarawak, for your information. Okay. And this is Mr. Jatmiko Harjapi, and they also uh, told me that can call you as Miko.
Yeah. Oh,
And
that's good.
Mr. Miko hold a bachelor degree in geodesy and geomatics engineering, and he has a wide experience in programming and location-based services and platform specialization. And we invite Mr. Jatmiko to continue this session, and the title is Here API for Web Development. So please, Mr. Jatmiko.
Okay. Thank you for the time and this opportunity to present my speech in this session. So, firstly, I am sorry for delayed because I get a technical issue with WebEx, and yeah, I also missed something very important. Actually, I have been in Malaysia for several months ago, and I realized that Malaysia is 1 hour ahead from Jakarta, from Bandung. But I totally forget today that yeah, that is the fact, and yeah, I just in a rush, and yeah, I am in panic, and then I forget that WebEx is yeah, I must log in
No,
first,
you
and
shouldn't
then
have been panicked, Mr. Jatmiko. Tenang,
okay,
tenang, Bapak, tenang. Tenang.
yeah,
Dah, continue.
okay, okay, thank you. Okay, let me share my screen with you guys. Okay, you guys can see my screen now.
Yes.
Okay. So in this session, I will present you here API for web development. Actually, I've been working with here Maps API for web development, especially for about uh, 1.5 years till now. And I never regret to use here Maps for majority of my web development, especially or visualize my GIS data because it's very powerful. Okay. If you guys enter the website of Gear Maps for developers, you will meet these three common tools that they are very proud of. The first one is JavaScript Api. Uh, this is the main tools that I commonly use, the JavaScript API, so I can visualize and then present my GIS data, spatial data in web. And then the second one is REST API. So actually REST API is a common or a general or maybe standardized scheme to interchangeably to interchange data between server and then client. So in the development, we usually call backend people that handle the server, and then front end the person that handle the client side. The client side is can be a web browser and also mobile apps, Android or iOS, or desktop also. Yeah, there is the three main platform for the client side. So the REST API is actually only the schema, a standard schema to exchange data between client and server. Nah, actually in the JavaScript API, there is also a sub module in that area that wrap a whole REST API in friendly user interface, yeah, friendly API actually. And then the third one is the mobile apps, Android and iOS, so we can show map in mobile apps using here maps engine and here maps space map and spatial data in the space map like route or something like building. Oh, and you can get the 3D building information too from here maps. Actually, as far as I know, in this area, in this spatial data provider, in my career from about 3 years ago, I think here maps is one of the best location data provider that I have been interact with because yeah, you can know in this in several screen after this. Okay, let me add additional context for the JavaScript. In the hint, we can see that I write WebGL, tiling, and Azure Docs. Okay, so the underlying technology that is used in here maps JavaScript API is WebGL. So that is a web API that has been spread across multiple browsers that you support the use of GPU, yeah, GPU. So we can utilize GPU in your hardware to show map in your browsers. Yeah, it's the maybe the newest and then the most powerful way to present your maps and spatial data. Uh, one information that must be noted is in the GIS web or GIS web development, or we simply call it WebGIS, we have two main tools that must be considered well. So the first one is GIS engine. The GIS engine. The GIS engine is the surface that, or yeah, of course, in that surface inside this, we can get many algorithm, but simply that is a surface that can render the map and spatial data into canvas in WebGL in the browser. That is the first building block, the first main aspect that we must remember uh, always. And then the second one is the base map service. Yeah, the base map service. There are many services in this area, many providers in this area, like Google Maps, and then Mapbox, and then there is the open source like OSM, OpenStreetMap, and of course here Maps app itself. And back to the rendering engine, we also have many providers there, like Mapbox JS, ArcGIS.js, and then Google Maps JS. JS stands for JavaScript. And then, of course, here Maps JS, here Maps for JavaScript developer. Why you should know that there is two main aspect in WebGIS development, because in there is a common case that we must combine the that those two aspect. Like in several cases, I met client that log into something like Mapbox.js in the engine or ArcGIS.js in the engine, but they need the more rich base map. So we can just make a request to the request in the REST API scheme, not request in this letter and then send email to Heroes. No, but we can make the rendering engine request to here maps REST API. So the base map is from here maps, but the rendering engine is not from here maps. So that is a common combination. And in several cases, that is the most powerful and the best approach to the client. Okay, that is about JavaScript, REST API, Android, and iOS. The tools that I mainly use is this JavaScript API. Next. This is my recommendation for you guys to learn here Maps API for web development. Okay, share my screen. So if you visit or browse the here maps or developer.heremap.com, developer.here.com, you can click in this card JavaScript. This is recommended learning path for JavaScript, and I think it is the common pattern that I use not only for here Maps API but also for Mapbox, KLJS, or ArcGIS.js, Supermap even, Supermaps from China, and then Google Maps from US. Okay, recommendation in so you can also open your browsers and let me walk through through this here. If you visited this site several months ago, actually there is a big improvement now, and I also realize and sense that there is a major change in the engine. So now it is more performant with smooth animation. So the first one in my recommendation is in code example. So you can get broad image, explore the code example, and get inspired to build like this. There are many examples here. First one is maps. Yeah, maps. Maps is maps. Yeah, you absolutely know map. In the maps, we can see there are many pages. Actually, it is structured like a folder structure. So there is maps folder, data display folder, and then it is just for your perspective. So it becomes simpler. So the map at specified location is this one. This is the example outcome, and this is the code from using JavaScript and HTML and JavaScript. Okay. Before this one, I really motivate you to learn a bit about web development, of course, the basic of HTML and CSS, because it really helps in building GIS, web GIS, and because there is common joke in web development that a web developer in this area, in this case is GIS, web GIS developer must know Holy Trinity. Yeah, Holy Trinity. There are HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. For HTML and CSS, you just need to know the very basic, and you can learn along your way, along your journey in web development. But in JavaScript, I think you must at least have an intermediate skill for JavaScript. But don't be afraid because JavaScript is not a hard to learn language. It's very simple actually. Really, opinion. Okay, in the maps folder we can get uh, some pages. You can just copy the HTML and JavaScript into your text editor of your choice and run it. Why I recommend to you to go to code examples first because almost every people want to see the outcomes first, the output presentation first, the output data visualization first before going deep into the coding side. So there are maps, data display. You can actually render or insert your spatial data into your maps. Base map using several formats like KML, K-hole markup language, QJSON, yeah, and several more in the API reference. Okay. So in my very first interaction with WebGIS, I go to code examples just going up and down and just scrolling and you know uh, search for inspiration and want to know our capability, what what this code can do, what this map can do, what this map can display. There is common pattern that every rendering engine have mm, similar features, similar general features. That is render maps, render additional data display, spatial data, like molecule JSON, and can also display zip file, zip file and QTIF, but you must convert it first into friendly format for web. And then styles and layers, this is for aesthetic for aesthetic aspect. So we can apply our cartography lesson from our bachelor into our map. Yeah, I remember that I also got cartography lesson in my bachelor degree. And then marker, something like this, as map, and then marker, and also a primitive geometry like polyline, polygon, and cycle, rectangle, image, even, and resizable geoshapes. And this is special for point. We can also do clustering. yeah, so this is clustering. The number in each point is uh, changing now. Change for every zoom level. Okay, yeah, something like that. That is clustering. And the code is not so long, not so long, not too long. Only not even close to 70, 70 lines. Because yeah, this is also a very big plus point or strong point in here maps engine. Here maps JavaScript, I mean, because it also comes with pre-installed utility like clustering and then some common geographic or geometric operation. Yeah, it like a whole big house with many rooms for so we can choose what we want to do with these tools that army knife. Yeah, we can call it Swiss army knife because the tools is not just rendering engine. Actually, the here maps JavaScript is not just rendering engine. It composed from rendering engine and then common spatial operation and then visual advanced visualization tooling and also mm, yeah and also a whole wrapper for here maps REST API. Okay, I will talk about it later. Okay, we continue our journey, and then after clustering, we also get events folder. It's about the event that can be listened by the engine, like click or double click or right click, something like that, and many more, like zoom, yeah, like scroll. So it will manipulate the zoom level. Is event, and then we got info bubbles. In other library like Mapbox, we call it pop-up. So in ArcGIS, samples. So there are two markers here. If we click it, yeah, this is info bubble or pop-up. It's called pop-up. Actually, if we are in the user side, we are very familiar with many interaction on the map. But as we grow as an web developer, we must also know the common terminology for the feature, like marker and something like that. Okay, before service routing, I want to show you this display menu data. So the, this is a proof that I said before, that here maps is one of the best location provider. Wait, oh, no, no. Show it from eagle eye. So in several actually commonly it is in a mall or big big building. You can also get the venue data. Like if we are working in the mall, we want to go to mm, counter of maybe like H&M or Uniqlo. Yeah, you can use your maps too, not only the whole building, but also the detail of the counter in this building. Okay, back to the folder server info bubbles, service routing and queue. URI for the section, the service routing and queue coding. I will head you into the API reference docs first. Okay. We take one page. An example. To read the API reference. Maybe if we want to extrude steps. Okay. So extrude concepts is like a semi 3D actually. Actually the data is in 2D, but the attribute tabel or the property has a z value or height value, so we can extrude the data into uh, semi 3D. Oh, okay. Yeah. Firstly, go to code example. We can read the API reference docs to going deep dive and explore reference point indicator, something like this. If we read this code, add steps to map. This is not the main function. The main function is here. Okay. Step one. The here maps docs is very friendly, I think, because there is a helper comment, so the reader can know what is called first and then second, and then yeah, the procedural programming. The first one, we must define the platform, so we can enter our API key. Yeah. Oh, if you register as developer in here maps JavaScript, especially, you can select the premium tier. Actually, it is all the premium, almost all the premium feature, but for free. It is very friendly for students, so you can try it for free. Uh, in many use case, you almost don't need the premium, but only premium for the small scale business, not business, for small scale use case. Okay, the step one is initialize communication with the platform. then enter your API key, and then initialize a map. So this is edge.service.platform. Nah, this is one of the um, API in the JavaScript library. Your maps JavaScript library. Edge.service.platform. Okay. Yeah, this is it. I want to show you the diagram, but I have not finished it yet. So okay, you can make your mind map, your own mind map for the your maps JavaScript library. So this is the main. It has separated into sub library, the map itself, surface, the map events, the data, the clustering, and the UI. Okay, so platform, service platform. Example, service platform, we can go to edge.service. Nah, edge.service and then go to classes. Platform. So you can read the description of what is edge.service.platform. Shared configuration for all the letter call to main library. So it must be initialized first. In the very first code, we must do this. Initialize edge.service.platform. Okay, and then the second one is initialize a map. We can use the edge.map. Yeah. Actually, the common problem that the beginner in web is faced is mental barrier because many spatial or GIS specialist is not coming from informatics background, but from geodesy or geomatics or geoinformatics, something like that. So they must have the strong mental to enter the programming domain. But it's very fun. It's very fun. Absolutely fun. Step 2. Edge.map. It is the rendering engine. The rendering engine initialization. So we can draw a map on an HTML element. This is a HTML element. Wait. Uh, it's common pitfall, yeah. H.map in here maps JavaScript library are to different to different things with big M and small m. This is the big M. The map class defines a map instance. By creating this object, you initialize a visible map attached to a DOM element. DOM is document object model. This is actually an HTML element. The map class is the entry point to all operations involving layers, map objects, and screen transformations. Use the option argument to initialize the map with a specific map view. You can set the center and zoom for the initial map view and also pixel ratio. This is very important for high definition monitor or something like retina display or yeah, similar from many. And also setting the tilt and hidden. This is not truly one perspective from above, but oblique. See, for about 38, 38 degree on horizontal vertical angle and vertical. Okay, that is procedure. If you want to know or want to deep dive what is h.surface or what is h.map, you can go to API reference. It's very complete documentation. Okay, and then if you are what we call it textual learner, maybe, yeah, the textual learner, because if we go with pet code examples and then API reference, we are actually using more like learn as you code. But if we learn via API guide, like it's more like textbook. The first step and then the second step, common case, go with A to Z. But no, the get started guide is very helpful for beginner. I think it's very helpful. The next one, like user guide, I never really into it because I am more code code person that uh, fastly or directly jump into coding with examples and via reference and via something. But here maps provide you two ways to approach that user can Oh yeah, this is the complete HTML sample page. So JavaScript is only actually just one script element in HTML. Okay, going to the next presentation. Tiling. Okay, I will introduce you with the concept of tiling. Actually, you are probably you are already learned it in degree. No? So tiling is the concept of split or cut your data into small tile, small tile upin bahasa Indonesia, small tile. So the rendering engine will be more easy, easier, will be easier to draw it into what something like this. Yeah, you know, there are many small 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 image in rectangle shape. Yeah, that is actually tile. We call it tile. And there are two tiles, fashion of tiles, vector tiles and raster tile. So this is vector tile, you know, you can recognize it in the first glimpse that it is a vector tile, and the other one is raster tile that commonly used in realistic placement. Just an example for raster tile. That So actually raster tile is what you see in satellite, yeah, satellite based map, satellite view in your Android or iOS. In your maps or Google Maps, there is satellite view. Yeah, that is the example of raster tile. Okay, that is tiling. I've informed you that if you want to show or present our spatial data into WebJS, we must convert it first into friendly format for web, something like QJSON, ML, and also vector tile and raster tile. In my company in Braga, we usually convert our save file or many other many more spatial data into vector tile. So we can easily send our spatial data, big spatial data into our client side. I mean, our web browser or mobile apps. Like several months ago, we had an collaboration. We had a collaboration with West Java government to make visualization platform for the dashboard for the head of governance in this province, so they can analyze spatially the big data in our province, West Java province. Very, very first choice of ours to present the big data is using the concept of tiling. Firstly, we process the data, the raw data, so it can be standardized and then import easily into PostGIS. Yeah, we are using PostGIS, Postgres with PostGIS plugin, and then with PostGIS we can serve vector tile. Yeah, in PostGIS 2.5, there is native feature for PostGIS to serve spatial data into vector tile. So then we can simply send the vector tile from PostGIS into our client side app, web browser, and Android or iOS application. It's very, very powerful. We almost always use it for government aspect like forestry and then asset, yeah, asset management for government. And also for for a collaboration platform with here maps too, we are using concept of tiling, yeah, vector tile, which is very performant. Okay, of tiling. Yes, I will talk the next session with the 10th point, service routing and geocoding that I delayed several minutes ago. This is because you must firstly know the REST API. Okay, the very second library interface for developer in your maps is the REST API. Because I want to present about other areas due to the time. Here, REST API. So actually, it is a standard communication schema for, I think we can call it outsider like us, to it internal data in here database using REST API. And guess the schema with the very first code samples. Yeah, we we send a request into we send request to to this link, and then we get a response. So this is standard format now for modern development communication. Between server and client using JSON schema, JSON JavaScript object notation. Several years ago, the web XML is very common format. JSON is very common format with a diverse range of applications as serving as a replacement for XML. Several years ago, the standard is XML format, but now uh, we are using JSON as standard, international standard for communication data format, and it is a lot easier and high readability. We can know what is inside it with only see it the first sign. This is just so, and in the here of developer slash API section, we have many services that is provided by here maps, from map tile to positioning API. So let me walk you through each API in this API. One thing that you must know and noted firstly is you can send your request with the programming language of your choice. So this is the common pattern, common schema. You can send the request to this link using every programming language, or yeah, programming language that you choose. Like, yeah, of course, JavaScript can do it. The other example is Python. You can request with Python, C, C++, Java, Swift, or if you are not a person that do coding frequently, you can use the higher level of request client, yeah, client request helper, something like Postman. Yeah, Postman. This language, or the alternative is Insomnia. You wanna try now Insomnia. You can use those two tools to easily send requests without coding, without no one programming language. Okay, so the first one is map tile. Yeah, map tile. Jadi uh, the map tile API and map image API. The map tile API, yeah, especially. I have never used it before, so I have no context and no deep information about it. But if I read the documentation, uh, I get the sense that it is kindly similar with map image API. So this is like a static image. We can send a request, and then get static image like an image of an area, a static map, yeah, an image of an area that we cannot interact with, just static image. That is image. Yeah, this is schema. You want to know how to construct the, like, maybe the area or bounding box, can read this one, construct uh, or examples if you want to call along. This URL. Do this one using parameter example. And the third one, this is uh, the most REST API feature that I frequently, I commonly use myself, vector tile API. So it is the one that I mentioned firstly, that there are two main aspects in WebJS development. The first one is rendering engine, and the second one is base map. Second one is base map. This is vector tile API is a base map service actually. Simply we can call it base map service. So in the examples section, we can get how to show this base map using several WebGIS engine, rendering engine, like Maple. This combination is the most used one in my using Maple engine, but base map is from here maps. So if we use Mapbox or something like Tangram or Help.gl, we must refer to their API to how to how to integrate base map provider like here maps. We can integrate with or something like Ungram. Also open source items, also an open source rendering engine for WebGS. Or leaflet, yeah. Leaflet for JavaScript is also very popular rendering engine for WebGS. And can combine it with many best web providers like OpenStreetMap or yeah, this here maps. And as I remember, here maps data or location data provider in Malaysia is one level better of Indonesia. So in Malaysia, I think here map support for location data is uh, in the first class because I don't know, maybe Malaysia is a lot data updated uh, if we compare it with Indonesia. Maybe because yeah, you know, Indonesia is large and spread into many islands. So the data, especially in no, in east area of Indonesia, is relatively full. In Malaysia, the data support is very good. And the second example here, we can also see how to integrate um, here maps base map using here maps JavaScript library, or we can simply call it here maps rendering engine, something like this. It is very similar, yeah. It's actually the same with the one that we already saw in the previous section when we talk about hero maps JavaScript library. Simpler than using the library, rendering engine. Okay, that is vector tile API using internally your maps also using tiling the concept of tiling. So the base map is parted into small rectangle uh, that depends on zoom level provided. The fourth one is geocoding and source API. This is self-explanatory. You can know what its service provide for the with the name geocode and search. You can accurately pinpoint queue coordinates, address, and places RPOIs on the map. Explore a vast database of place RPOI through one box search and get better suggestion with fewer strokes without percentages. And then routing. Routing public transport and intermodal routing is in a same scope, innocent domain. It's the three are about routing. First one is basic routing. Uh, what I mean with basic is simply routing, not actually not very basic because we can also get a complex routing scenario using routing API like multi-point routing and something like that. And then public transit is a route for you if you want to move from one point to another point using public transportation. And then the third one is intermodal routing. You want to do a routing using several modal in one journey. Combine. It's a combination. It is routing API with combination. Like if you want to transport using many combine it in a one journey like car, bike, taxi, pedestrian, and something like that. It includes public transit too. Okay. And traffic API, so we can know the traffic conjunction and something like that, traffic collision and something like that in the way that we want to know. Really, this is very important for urban planning section, and also for supply chain. Yeah, supply chain. My friends in several area in industry use this similar API from routing, public transit, intermodal routing for supply chain. So supply chain also use our domain in informatic and bioinformatics. We use network analytics to do routing. So the supply chain is can be reached the most optimum route and the most optimum scenario, so they can transport from any point to many point with very minimal resources. That is supply chain. And then mathematics. Wait, the fleet telematics actually is the one that I also have not interact with, so I have no additional context. You can see that it is actually an advanced API to integrate advanced algorithm ready to solve complex location problems, such as store cost calculation, route matching, GPS traces, and geofencing. Me myself as not an experience with this API, so we can jump into next API, weather API. Weather API. Maybe you are a bit shocked, yeah, that you know now that now that here maps also provide weather API, not just location data, but ocean too, yeah, meteorology and oceanography service like weather. We can get temperature and then precipitation, humidity, and something like that. Similar for air condition and quality, air quality. So actually, this is also built internally into here maps JavaScript. If we want to show the user about severe weather alerts in our map in JavaScript, or also in iOS and Android, you can use weather API that built internally into h dot service. H dot service dot, I don't know. There are many h dot service dot blah blah blah. One of them is weather. And then the next one is Data Hub. Data Hub is for now, as far as I know, this is actually in work in progress from here map. So this is actually not generally available now. But we can upload our format, our spatial format. I think data hub API because the very similar service is provided in many here webs competitor like ArcGIS or Maple. The, they also have data hub API or similar with our terminology. So we can store our data in their server, ArcGIS server or Mapbox server. We can upload zip file, QT, or something like that, or many other formats or spatial format, and then they will be store it in their storage in their storage server, and then we can simply call it from our rendering engine. For this case, here maps or JavaScript library or here maps with iOS and Android. So we are get rid from spatial data processing, like what I call it a spatial data transform format. Yeah, we can get rid of how to transform from zip file or DXF or DWG, DWG, or like QT into vector tile or raster tile. We can get rid of it using Data Hub API in here maps or Mapbox and ArcGIS. Actually, ArcGIS also use here maps API for the database, but in addition with their own data. And in ArcGIS API, ArcGIS JavaScript, we also can upload several advanced format like LAS for LIDAR, for point cloud, and also 3D shape. Yeah. For this area, for this data type API, I must honestly agree that ArcGIS has more powerful service there. Yeah, because here in this area, data hub API are still in progress, not finalized, and I personally have not liked it because if we click on it, nah, unfortunately the page you are looking for does not seem to exist. Yeah, because it is a work in progress from here. And then the last two API in the section of REST API is tracking and positioning. So for the positioning, this is the simpler one. It is actually the way you get estimated position for from your location that you are currently on, and then you can send a request from there, and you will get the estimated longitude and latitude, but not using GPS. This is the case that you are not you are in an area that are not reached by GPS. Cases maybe I don't know. And then you can just access the internet. You can use positioning API. So you can just call HTTPS blah 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 post blah blah blah, and then you will get your estimated location with accuracy. interesting because the location is come from a general intersection from 2G, 3G, 4G, and W LAN signal. It's interesting. Oh, we can get the location without using GPS at all. And the last one is tracking API that I want to talk lebih dalam ya, deeper in this area tracking because it's about IoT. How we present IoT data into our WebGIS. This is a service from your maps tracking API. That is one that has complete solution for IoT tracking.
Tidak deh ate, terus yang tag deh. Lupa.
There was a noise. Okay. So in this tracking API, you can see we can connect device, real-time location data, and also we can get the historical data of our device location. This is the complete solution, but I want to break it down into the first the service that if you want to manually implement it. Okay, so this is the schema for data connection within our platform for IoT device. So the first one, you have your devices like maybe Raspberry Pi, or Arduino. Okay, you can have that device, that kind of devices that has location sensor. Actually, you must provide your GPS sensor in that. You must integrate GPS sensor in that modules hardware. Oh, in here maps, in the devices, we can also attach aliases and metadata like device ID or device name or device provider or something like that. Device common metadata like quality and something like that. And then positioning using GPS module that is integrated into Arduino or Raspberry Pi. And then common sensors. This is very variative. Depends on the use case. Commonly, I work with MetOcean, like weather, the weather modules, like temperature, humidity, and something like that. But you can also integrate infrared sensor if you want. Like Mr. parking area or like also temperature of people. It depends on your use case. And then geofence tools in your maps, and also we can implement it in our own server. Geofence and rules, something like if we have business in car rental, or bus rental or something like that, transportation vehicle rental or fleet rental, we can use geofences and rules so that we can know if our vehicle is uh, outside our geofence. We can have a rules and then notification to our mobile phone that our vehicle or fleet is outside the geofence, something like that. This is inbuilt in here maps, but also easily implement in our own server if we want. But if we implement it ourselves, we must do it in in web server using application server like in Node.js or Python using Django, Flask, or Astapi, or yeah, if we want using Node.js, we use Express.js or Fastify.js, something like that. So the device, after get the data in the field, the device send the data into our data server via web server. So the device is send the data into our web server. Commonly it use MQTT protocol because it is low energy, simpler one rather than HTTP that we are commonly used in web browser. This is MQTT for IO. Or if we are interacting directly into application in web browser, we commonly use MQTT over WebSocket because why we use WebSocket? Because we want to do bidirectional communication. What is bidirectional communication? It is a kind of communication that allow client side communicate with server side bidirectly. So not just client send request and then server send response, not just like that, but either client or server can also make data transfer in a real time. It's commonly used in chat app like WhatsApp, something like that. Yeah, they use WebSocket bidirectional because when a user send a request, send a message into server, the server not must send notification to other user that the user A is messaging user B, something like that. So in the old days, maybe before WebSocket is invented, use periodic response, request response. Yeah. So the client side is periodically request into server, and then the server just just respond to the request. But now we can also do the other way. So the server can also send a data to the client side without client send the request firstly. And then the third one, the third journey that is that the data transit is data server. This is actually database here. We can use SQL or no SQL database so that we can save our data like location data or time, time greater at time that the data is stored or saved. So attribute data like yes or no maybe or the temperature in that area, or yeah, yes, the list go on. It depends on your use case. So SQL and no SQL. This is quite a bit different. SQL is, structured query language. It is very major database type. In geomatics or geodesy, we are commonly use Postgres with Postgres plugin because it is open source and very powerful, and the fastest growing, as far as I know, the fastest growing open source SQL database with many capabilities. Postgres is very top, very strong pioneer in this area, in this spatial database segment. And in NoSQL, we get a MongoDB actually, but honestly, I have been working with MongoDB, but personally, I think it is well suited for non-spatial data. And the spatial operation is there. We can read it in MongoDB documentation, but not so performant, in my opinion. Not so performant. It is far behind the Postgres. In the SQL section, we also have MySQL. MySQL has built-in spatial operation support and SQL Server and something like that, and many SQL MariaDB and something like that. But I personally choose Postgres, almost always Postgres for many my projects. And then web server. Oh no, SQL and no SQL. And location and shipment. I mentioned these two terminology, location and shipment, because it is also mentioned in here Maps API, REST API documentation. Location and shipments. So this is what I call supply chain. Actually, here Maps is complete platform solution for supply chain. So we can attach our devices into our vehicles or fleet, so we can manage it easily, and also flawlessly integrated into here Maps JavaScript library. Yeah, this traffic API, this tracking API. Okay, and then after the data is sent from devices and then processed in web server and then storage in data server, we must send it again into our application using this very similar web server. Yeah. We can build it into a monolithic architecture or a microservice architecture. What I mean is, if we want go to monolithic, we just make one web server that do all the things, like authentication, data serving, many more. Or if we want to go with microservice architecture, we can break our web server into many mini web server that do one single task in each server. Something like this. We can do web server A and web server B, or web server A and web server A. Nah, the second web server, the second web server in this diagram can do several jobs like connecting cloud to cloud and also send notification into our application. In many big company, there are many microservices. So then the web server need to do cloud to cloud connection. So each microservice is updated from the last data that is provided from devices. So it's notified microservice A, microservice B, and microservice C in this architecture. And then after that, we can also send notif to our application. Yeah. Or what I mean with application is web application or mobile application or desktop application. Using actually in IoT, this web server commonly send the data via JSON again, JSON to our application. And then in a real time, our application update the position of our vehicle in the maps. So the maps is real time updated to the device. Hopefully, application that use this. Oh, so actually this is dummy data. This is also using here maps. I built my company built it for about 2 or 3 months to show zip all the zip in the hardware. Show zip. This is using WebSocket. So the position is updated real time. The zip move. We also have data from Tvet API. Also using Tvet API in real time too. Not just the IoT in the zip, but also the Tvet API. Okay, that is the example of one case that my company built using this architecture, IoT and WebSocket, using POSIX in the SQL, so the sensor. But we use monolithic architecture. Actually, we also use cloud to cloud connection because the data in zip is not easily accessed because zip is sail in the sea and there is no internet provider in the sea, so we must use API from satellite provider, marine satellite provider, like that. So REST API is standard, international standard for data transport and data connection. Itu in this use case. Okay. Presentation wait. Is there anything that I miss before I end this speed session? Okay, this one, easier docs. If you think that here maps docs is a little bit complicated for you, you can go. I recommend you with Mapbox. GLGS, because for some people the code examples is a little bit easier to follow, but I think not that how that different. That you can choose. Just need several code, and this is actually directly in one big HTML. I think it depends on each person preference between JavaScript docs or Mapbox JavaScript. Some people find that SQLJS has easier for them, relatively easier for them to code. Okay, and okay, this one, service routing geocoding that I delay. A very small section, very small section. Previously, I say that we can interact with many REST API service from here maps using request response schema. But there is an easier way to do it. For example, the routing and geocoding REST API service is a built-in service in here maps JavaScript. So this. Routing or geocoding. It's just right. Can choose any of this. Oh. Sorry. I just want to show you the comparison between manually to REST API requests using built-in feature in JavaScript. If you want to make your own request using language of your choice to get root, this is the document. But the simpler one is using platform.getRoutingService that is built in here JavaScript library. This is the main function. Get line. And the other function is just handler to directly show it. This is the result root. But the main function is just 10 lines. Just read. I think I just want to show that this is a built-in service in here maps JavaScript library. But to be fair, it is also available in other providers like Mapbox or ArcGIS. But ArcGIS under in is here maps in this in that underlying technology. Only Mapbox is their own. Yeah. They have their own implementation and data. That's all for me. I will give time back to the moderator. Thank you.
All right. So, such an interesting info. A lot of them. Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Miko. And we should open the floor for Q&A session. Any question from the students? You can carry on with your question. If you are shy to ask, then you can type on the chat button below so we can share your question. We start now.
Ada soalan kah? Ada
You
soalan
can
nak tanya?
you can use bahasa Melayu, no problem. Saya bisa cakap dikit-dikit. Sebenarnya kan kita satu ini ya, kakak beradik lah ya, suku ini Melayu dan Indonesia Nusantara. Jadi
Ya.
silahkan boleh pakai bahasa Melayu.
Yeah. Any question from student? Any question?
Okay. I have a question. All right, Mr. Miko. What do you think the web development progress in both Malaysia and Indonesia in here API context. Macam mana perkembangan dia di antara Malaysia sama Indonesia.
Ini saya kan tadi pakai bahasa Inggris ya. Mungkin ini
Iya, tak apa.
nyamannya bebas sih sebenarnya. Takutnya ternyata mahasiswa lebih nyaman pakai bahasa Indonesia, tapi saya nggak terlalu lancar kalau pakai bahasa Melayu ya.
Oh, tak apa.
Ya. Jadi mungkin biar agak santai, karena mungkin pada takut karena pakai bahasa Inggris, mungkin saya nggak tahu juga. Oke, kalau perkembangan web development di Indonesia dan Malaysia dalam konteks Here API, secara general dulu, in general, web development, especially in GIS, is fastly growing, either in Malaysia or Indonesia. Actually, I joined Malaysia GIS Facebook group for about 2 years. Yeah, I think I'm the only Indonesian people in that group. Because I just want to join and add an insight for me. And I think both government and business people in many big companies also raise their GIS awareness, spatial data awareness. So it pushes the web GIS development domain and also the need of GIS developer that are now the condition is very rare. GIS developer in general is very rare because it is a multidiscipline domain, because we must have a background in spatial data and also background in informatics. So we must combine the both knowledge into very valuable products is WebGIS. Actually, in this phase, I think government and big company is being hooked via data visualization. Yeah, firstly, they are realize that they must do need data visualization for spatial data, because in general they are presented via table, but they realize that spatial data is different, that must be presented using different approach, that is map, of course. And after that, the next step is they realize that after visualization they must gain the information from the data. So they also want to build this analytics tool. So there is also a big demand in spatial data analysis in these jobs in this domain. I think that is for me. Thank you.
All right. So, any more questions, boys and girls? All right. So we are nearly end of our session. It's approximately 12:25, right? So di Indonesia rasanya beda 1 jam ke belakang gitu, Bapak.
Ya, betul. Ya, betul. Sebenarnya secara geografis sebenarnya sama ya. Harusnya di zona yang sama. Cuma memang saya juga pas ke Singapura dan ke Malaysia, nyadar ternyata Singapura dan Malaysia tuh maju 1 jam, padahal geografisnya sama.
Oh, dia begini, Bapak. Untuk di Sabah dan Sarawak, before we, join, ini sejarah negara kita ya. Before we join with the Semenanjung, tanah Semenanjung, masa kita juga berbeda.
Oh.
And then the Prime Minister, itu Perdana Menteri pada masa itu, mantan Dr. Mahathir, dia apabila Malaysia itu ditubuhkan, jadi dia selaraskan masa. Jadi sekarang masa di Semenanjung dan di Sabah Sarawak disamakan. Kalau ikutkan kita di sini siangnya lebih awal berbanding di Semenanjung. That's why masa bulan puasa dia agak ketara. Beza waktu berbuka tu.
Ya, marhaban ya Ramadan ya, sebentar lagi
Iya.
Ramadan.
Terima kasih. Kita di sini mengucapkan berbanyak-banyak terima kasih kepada Bapak di atas kesudian bersama-sama dengan kami semua menyampaikan ilmunya. We are hoping to see you again soon, insyaAllah.
Insyaallah. Amin.
Ya, thank you so much Bapak. Terima kasih banyak-banyak.
Oke,
Thank
terima
you so
kasih banyak
much.
buat waktu dan
Iya.
kesempatannya.
Iya.
Mohon maaf ya kalau ada salah kata. Oh ya.
Iya, itu bukan salah kata. Dia kita ada beza bahasa sedikit. But the English is still we can still understand. Alright. So thank you Bapak. Alright. So untuk students, alright. Sebentar ni nanti Mr. Lee, alright, Mr. Lee akan memberikan link untuk keberkesanan kursus. So everyone should fill in the form. I mean complete the form and send it back to Mr. Lee. Is it? Mr. Lee?
Ya, nanti saya akan share itu link dalam grup. So, thank you.
Okay. So ini kan beri kemudian sebentar nanti. Kalau tak ada apa-apa, we should end our session now. Thank you so much everyone, and I hope that you guys dapat banyak info pada hari ini. Thank you so much. Bye. Assalamualaikum.
Ya, terima kasih kepada penceramah yaitu Mr. Jatmiko. Okay, thank you very much to all lah. Thank you. Yeah.
Alright, bye.
Thank you. Bye.